Okay, so today we're gonna look at Batman Arkham Knight. It's a PC game that many people are talking about for all the wrong reasons, probably because of all those bugs.
Are you sure
and
it's a
things.
PC game? Because I was on Steam and it wasn't there, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it will
Pretty sure
not
this doesn't
exist. Some of you out there may be wondering what happened. Why is there nothing on the Steam store for this game, or at least there wasn't? I think it's back now. I think they've finally brought it back. But yeah, this game came out completely buggy as shit, and according to a lot of people, it wouldn't run at all. It would crash constantly. There's all sorts of weird texture errors where the textures wouldn't load in. That, fortunately for me, has not been my experience. But from what I hear, it probably has to do with the fact that I have more than 12 gigs of RAM, which is an insane expectation to put on anyone.
Yeah.
But apparently that's their expectation. And that's the fixed version. The fixed version of the game is asking for 12 gigs of RAM, which is crazy because I don't even know what the original was expecting.
Right.
But it runs fine for me. And so actually, part of the problem with that is my opinion of this game is probably quite a bit more positive than I think anyone else's. You played the other ones, right?
I played Arkham City. I didn't play the first one, and I didn't play Origins.
Okay, Origins was pretty cool. Obviously, it was a different team. It had some really neat boss battles, but some of the magic that Rocksteady has, I think, is the detail that they put into their city. So, for example, the footage that we're looking at right now this is when I was playing, just looking for Riddler challenges and stuff. And you see me sort of like, I have the marker set on screen, and I'm just trying to find the entrance in there. But what's interesting about the Rocksteady games, I think the Origins one didn't have as much of, is just the amount of detail that they put into the world. Arkham Knight takes place in Gotham City, so it has a pretty large space filled with landmarks that are well known in the world of the comic books, right? And so what's interesting is that as you're exploring, you'll find all sorts of like just little architectural anomalies or statues or art or like little hidden rooms. Like for example, just now I popped through a room, and there's just a lot of detail all over the place. And I think that the Riddler challenges especially emphasizes that detail and kind of forces you to have to explore the world and actually see how much detail they put into that world so that you can better appreciate it, at least hopefully.
Yeah, this game looks totally amazing.
Yeah, the graphics are incredible. You know what's funny? Have you gone back and looked at Arkham Asylum and Arkham City?
No.
Okay, so in my memory, it looks like this. I went back and saw footage. It does not look anywhere near this good. If you're watching this video, look up Arkham City and Arkham Asylum footage, and you'll find that it looks kind of like extremely simple. Like the character model for Batman is way simpler than it looks in this game. The environments are way flatter. I mean, it's aesthetically pleasing, but they've improved the game substantially.
Yeah.
Although it's funny because it feels like they've kind of just brought it up to my memory of the originals at this point. So okay, so let me comment on a few of the things that we're seeing. So right now I'm doing the Riddler challenge where I'm searching for the throughout the map. There's these Riddler challenges where they just have the question, right, like a literal riddle, and you have to take a picture of something to solve it. And usually it's once again another example of within the game design, they find a way to get you to focus on detailed aspects of the world, parts of the world that are actually interesting to look at. And also, you notice just right now it said new city story unlocked. Pretty much all of the riddle challenges that you complete unlock something. You will unlock concept art. You'll unlock city stories, which are like little 3-page mini story things. You'll unlock character showcases, which showcase the 3D models. And there's 240 something of these Riddler challenges. Yeah. So they have an unlockable for every single one. And each Riddler challenge puts you in an interesting part of the world. So in terms of how much it expands on the game, it's kind of incredible. And then like it even takes you to a spot like this, where you're looking around and there's just plants mixed in with the urban environment. It just looks so beautiful. And it's the kind of thing that you would fly over and totally miss.
Yeah, but it seems like the game is rewarding you for every little moment that you go to explore.
Yeah, exactly. And it also has that aspect of like the challenge of actually figuring out how to collect the thing. Mm-hmm. So you're being rewarded visually, right? Just because the city itself is visually satisfying. It sort of reminds me of Grand Theft Auto 5 has that quality, mm-hmm. where you can kind of just go to a back alley in GTA 5 and it looks like someone thought about it, and really kind of put it together. And Arkham Knight has that same quality to me, where it feels like they know that you could totally miss a whole big section of the world, and yet they still put a lot of detail into it, and a lot of thought into it. And the amount of Riddler challenges suggests to me that they figured, okay, we got to make sure they at least see a certain fraction of all this stuff that we put into this damn game.
Mm-hmm. So they're leading you around, like the designers specifically wanted you to know that this stuff was here and that this section of the city is here. So they put the most interesting stuff, basically in the little nooks and crannies instead of in the big wide open spaces, the big obvious places. Yeah,
which you would otherwise miss, right? And then it's interesting because if you don't care about that, like if you're not someone who's going to look at the world and really care that it's detailed and aesthetically pleasing or whatever, the Riddler challenges, like I said, they still reward you with something, and there is a certain degree of necessity to it. Now this part I'm sure some people don't like, but you actually can't get the entire main story unless you find every single one of the Riddler challenges. Now that could have been terrible. That's like an Assassin's Creed collectible kind of thing. But with this game, I mean, I'm sure that they had to consider this, the developers. They must have considered, okay, if we're going to have that kind of a reward, which feels like a main game reward, we have to make sure that these collectibles aren't just collectibles, that it actually feels valuable. And so that's why the added element of making sure that the world is full enough and that the challenges of collecting the Riddlers are interesting, the Riddler trophies are interesting enough that it all makes it work out in terms of like, oh, I'll do it. I'll collect all 240 something of these, because then not only am I expanding the game, I'm not just collecting just to collect. I'm actually gaining something by collecting. The journey actually matters. And then by the time you reach the end of that journey, you get another reward by actually getting the end of the story.
Yeah, you're rewarded with more journey.
Yeah, the journey goes on and on and on, and they tease it a little bit because, well, I don't want to spoil for people who haven't finished it, but there is a bit of a tease as to what you're gonna get when like what the big climax of the story is gonna be, and it's sort of exciting, like interesting, like oh that's a neat little idea. I wonder how that's gonna look and like what they're gonna do with that. So that's cool. It definitely they lead the way with a few tantalizing breadcrumbs as it goes, and then so just exploring the city is fun. I mean, did you do that that much exploration in the past games, like with the Riddler challenges and all that?
I think in Arkham City, I kind of didn't. I'm pretty sure that the Riddler challenges were kind of hit and miss in terms of complexity and intrigue. Back in Arkham City, they seem like they're easier to navigate and like sort of more tantalizing in this one.
Yeah, well, so that's an interesting comparison because Arkham City is really good. I liked Arkham City a lot. I remember when I was playing Arkham City, I felt like, oh, I really missed the tight, dense space of Arkham Asylum. Like Arkham City felt almost like too much, and I don't remember it as fondly as I do Arkham Asylum. Like look at like that little poster and stuff, and you can just read it, and like weird little details like that. But anyway, I remember thinking like, oh man, I wish they would go back to the Metroid type design that they had for Arkham Asylum. And then with something like Arkham Knight, I kind of feel like they really got a good balance between the two. I think that they tried to make Arkham City really dense, and they did. It has a lot of detail as well. I mean, I don't want to knock Arkham City. It has a ton of detail. But this one, the Riddler challenges are just so much more fun. I'm having a good time running around, exploring, and trying to figure out how to get to them. And they even combine challenges together. So, for example, right now, you're watching me. I'm going toward where a Riddler trophy is, but at the same time, it's surrounded by this base of operations of enemies. That's actually a separate side quest to get rid of these bases, right? But in order to even get to the Riddler trophy, I also have to do this. So it sort of forces you to do both at the same time. Right? They're integrated together into one challenge, essentially. And that's a pretty... They didn't have to do that. I think it actually is like... It makes it so that it feels even more natural.
Yeah.
Right? Because as soon as I... as you'll see, as soon as I finish this fight and I defeat this group of enemies and clear this little base area... then I'm going to have access to the Riddler trophy. It's almost like a reward.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Even though it's that base thing is not on paper connected to the Riddler trophy, it is in practice necessary.
They jammed him kind of into the same space. It almost seems like they designed so much game that they couldn't fit it into the physical space. They had to like put 2 things in the same area and 3 things. Like I don't know. I'm really blown away by just how dense this thing looks.
And that's actually funny too, because it's quite a bit. It's a good showcase of confidence on their part, because they do have such a large space, but they're not afraid to fill it densely, right? Like putting 2 challenges in one spot and having it work so that even though they have more than enough room, they're gonna make sure that it's so tightly packed. And I love it. It's so fun to deal with it in that way, to like explore the world and actually like embrace it along those terms. Let's see, and like, you know, obviously we haven't talked about the mechanics of this game. Like there's the vehicle challenges, and what's interesting is, so the vehicle is something that I've heard talked about a lot in regards to this game in terms of like reviews and things, and a lot of people speak negatively about the vehicle. What I think is interesting is how much the vehicle adds to the challenges of the riddles. Not in this particular riddle, I don't think. No, definitely not in this one. But there's a lot of Riddler challenges where in order to get the trophy, you actually have to use the car in tandem with using Batman. So what you can do is you can remote control the Batmobile. You can have it move to a certain location and manipulate the environment in a certain way. And then have Batman, do another separate thing. So it's sort of almost like a co-op play with yourself. Right?
Yeah, you get out of the Batmobile, you tell the Batmobile, hey, stay there, do something
or shoot
else.
Something. Right. Or like, it sometimes serves as a weight where it'll like weigh down a ramp of some sort. And so it just expands the possibilities of the puzzles that they can do with Arkham Knight. And none of this footage includes any of the Riddler trophies that are inside of locations, which are even better, because inside of locations it goes back totally to the Arkham Asylum style of like Metroidy, where you're going back to areas you've already been and sort of like discovering new locations within old areas. It totally goes back to that thing, but outside of locations it goes into this heavier puzzle type setup, right? And this is another interesting, like, look at this little spot. I just went to this little door. None of this was on the main story path. And it's just this nice, interesting little alleyway nook spot. Yeah. And it has a side mission that you can accomplish here. And it just makes the world feel really engaging and interesting. And like, you're always having something to do, and it's always fun and interesting. Yeah. And
looks like a lot of fun. Looks like they're having a ton of fun with Batman.
Yeah, I'm sure Batman's their best friend, and they're really excited that he's here.
It really wasn't a party until he showed up.
I mean, look at the kind of... They're all set up. All these guys were hanging out, standing around. They had shields on them. This guy had these electric things, and they're just, like, shooting the shit together in this little back room.
But they were just waiting. It was getting a little awkward before he showed up, I think.
And then, look, they even had a single... Did they all come in that car, on that truck? And, like, a bunch of guys packed in the back trunk area. Yeah. That poor fireman on the side hanging by a little chain. The game's really, did you like the Arkham City one that you played?
I liked it a bunch. I thought it was great. I wish I finished Arkham Asylum. I only played like the first half.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Arkham Asylum is cool in that Metroidvania. Like, it really is nice, the Metroidvania quality to it. There's a few negatives about Arkham Knight that I think are worth talking about. It has some of the side missions do get repetitive, unfortunately. You end up, which is interesting because the Riddler challenges end up offering more variety than the side missions do, and it almost makes it feel like the side missions are an afterthought compared to what is normally considered the side missions, which is the collectibles. The collectibles end up having even more thought, and they're far more interesting to play through. The one other problem with Arkham Knight is the enemy, like the main villains in the game, are surprisingly few for how large the game is. There aren't that many, and a lot of them are the same, like main villains, like the Penguin and Two-Face that you faced in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and Arkham Origins, even. Like they just keep showing up. That's a little unfortunate. There's some great stuff with, like the mental problems that Batman goes through. They really mess with that a lot. Scarecrow's a huge part of this game. So you're getting a lot of that, like mental manipulation and his frightened thoughts and things like that. This side mission that you're seeing here was just me freeing a firefighter. There's a whole bunch of firefighters all around the city that you have to find, and you free them by beating up the people around them. That's an example of one of the side missions that does get a little repetitive because there's a lot of them, which is a bit unfortunate. But otherwise, it's still, you end up being around other Riddler trophy things, so it ends up just folding into that aspect of the game. Yeah, and I just wanted to show this footage and take this video to sort of emphasize that part of the game that maybe is ignored because of a lot of the bug stuff. When you actually get a working version of the game, I think Rocksteady put so much work into this, and it's so unfortunate if it doesn't get appreciated and like put into consideration. And like, yes, it's still collectibles, and it's still the same type of mechanic that you've seen in Arkham City and Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum, but for the kind of world that they built, like it's such a large world, and to have it be so dense and so interesting to get through, like that's incredible. And it's so sad that all of that gets distracted because of a really shitty buggy version, which I guess they had outsourced to some company who totally fucked it up.
So somebody else came in and really messed up the work that they did.
Yeah, and made them look bad. Yeah. For sure. And it's only the PC version as far as I know. I haven't played the Xbox One or PS4. I've only played the PC. It's ran fine for me. I did all of the story. Like now the footage that you're seeing is me after having already done the story. Now I'm doing all the side stuff. I didn't have any crashes or any major bugs or anything like that. But I know, some of that I just got lucky, I'm sure. But anyway, if you're watching this video and you have not played Arkham Knight, I absolutely think if you can get a working version of it on PS4 or Xbox One, or if you have more than 12 gigs of RAM, try out this game. This game is amazing.
It's worth giving it a chance in spite of the trouble that it's had over the last few months. Yeah,
and if you get it on Steam, there's a return policy up, I believe, where you can return it within like 2 hours. Just try it out for a little bit. Look up some forums, compare your specs with others, and see if how well it works for other people, and give it a shot. This game's kind of amazing.
All right, thanks, Ruben.
Yeah, thanks for watching. See you around.
And now I've seen a couple of prison riots in my time, but this is way